So, what if the calendar we use every single day, the one that runs our lives, is just fundamentally broken? Well, today we're going to dive into a radical redesign that aims to fix all of it. It's called the Antediluvian Sovereign Calendar, and it's a whole new system built on pure math and the actual rhythms of nature. Let's see how this thing works.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about how weird our calendar is? Why on earth is February shorter than all the other months? Except for when it isn't. And why do the names for September, October, November, and December, which literally means 7th, 8th, ninth, and 10th, fall 2 months late? It makes no sense. The answer is that our calendar isn't some clean, logical design. It's a messy patchwork of historical accidents and political decisions.
And look, these aren't just fun facts for a trivia night. They're actually symptoms of a system with some pretty serious design flaws. Let's take a quick look at the glitches we've all just kind of learned to live with.
And the craziest part, we just accept it all is normal. We've got month lengths that are totally random, the day of the week for your birthday or for Christmas or any holiday. It just drifts around every single year, and the names, like we said, are completely out of sync with the numbers. This chaos is exactly what the sovereign calendar was designed to eliminate from the ground up.
So, how does the Antediluvian Sovereign Calendar, let's just call it the ASC, actually fix this mess? Well, instead of just slapping another patch on an old, broken system, it starts completely from scratch, building a new one on a foundation of pure, simple mathematics.
All right, the first big move is the number of months. Forget 12. The ASC year is built on 13 months. Now, I know that sounds a little strange at first, but stick with me here, because this number is the absolute key that unlocks a perfectly symmetrical and predictable system.
And the second rule follows perfectly from the first. Every single one of those 13 months has exactly 28 days. Just think about that for a second. Every month is a perfect block of 4 7-day weeks. No more random 30 or 31-day months. The first of the month is always a Sunday, which the ASC calls Sol, and the 28th is always a Saturday, or Satur. Every time. And here is where the magic really happens. You do the math. 13 months times 28 days gives you exactly 364 days. And since 364 is perfectly divisible by 7, the calendar grid never changes. Can you imagine your birthday falling on the exact same day of the week every single year for the rest of your life? That's the kind of stability we're talking about here.
Okay, but I can hear you asking, a real solar year is about 365 and a quarter days, so how does the system account for that? This is, I think, the most clever part. It uses two special intercalary days, named Alpha and Omega, that exist completely outside that 13-month structure. They aren't part of any week, which allows the calendar to stay perfectly synced with the sun without, as the source material puts it, contaminating that perfect 364-day grid. But the design doesn't just stop with the math. This is where it gets really fascinating. The calendar also tells a story. It layers a clear, intuitive narrative of the year right on top of its mechanical structure. And this design principle is really the key to the whole project. The calendar works perfectly, whether you care about the meaning or not. The math is the engine. But for those who do care, there's a story provided that beautifully mirrors the natural cycles of the Earth. And you can see that story unfold right here. The year has this natural progression. It starts with Genesis and seeding. It moves through a period of growth to a peak of summer light. Then it goes into the yield of the harvest, followed by a gradual decline, and a final release in the cold months. It's a narrative that just feels right, because it mirrors the cycles we all experience.
And then there's one final layer to this whole design, and it comes from ancient words. The names for each of the 13 months aren't just poetic. They're very intentionally chosen from historical languages to reinforce the meaning of that specific time of year. So check out a few examples here. The first month is Primis, which comes from the Latin word for, you guessed it, first. Lumos, which is the month of peak sunlight, comes from the Latin word for light. Messis is straight up Latin for harvest, and Cryos, the month of the first frost, is from the ancient Greek word for cold. Each name is literally a description of what's happening.
And this is a really crucial point that designers make. These are not invented fantasy words. They call them inherited words, and they're chosen because they are linguistically authentic. They tap into a shared human experience of the seasons that goes back thousands of years. It really keeps the calendar grounded and prevents it from feeling arbitrary.
So when you put it all together, the perfect math, the natural story, and the ancient language, what you get is what the source material calls a deployable temporal operating system. I mean, that's a mouthful, but it's basically a brand new OS for time itself. And here is what a month actually looks like in practice. It's a perfect, predictable grid. The first is always a sol day. The 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd are always sol days, every single month, every single year. For anyone trying to plan a school year, a corporate budget, or a public holiday, this level of stability is absolutely revolutionary. So to sum it all up, the calendar's creators argue that it's mechanically perfect. No drift, no weird anomalies, it's narratively clear, and it's linguistically authentic. In their view, it's a complete, finished system, ready to be used as a new standard for how we measure our years. And that really brings us to a final, much bigger question, right? Whether this specific calendar is ever adopted or not. It's a fascinating case study in intentional design, and it forces us to ask, what other systems that we just take for granted in our work, in our cities, in our daily lives are full of hidden glitches, just waiting for a complete and total redesign?